What's up, everyone? It's your boy Scott. Welcome to the Scott Reports. Today I'm bringing you an anime review of Kokkoku Episode 3. Another episode in the books, another cliffhanger for Kokkoku as we have hit the make or break episode under the Otaku rule. Episode 3 where you decide if you should keep this episode or you can drop it. Me personally, I was in for the long haul at episode 1, but if you're wondering if you should stick with this series, it really is going to depend on your enjoyment factor that you have for episode 1 and episode 2. If those two wasn't your cup of tea, episode 3 is not going to really do anything to change your mind, because all it did this episode was just go deeper and deeper into the stasis and everything that is going on. So if you don't like getting your information a little bit at a time, then I don't think this is going to be the series for you. But if you like that little bit of intrigue, then this is going to be up your alley, as we're just getting what we need to know in little doses. But I have to commend Geno Studios right now for their first outing as a series, because I really am enjoying the psychological thriller aspect of this. And of course there's heavy supernatural as well, especially coming in with this episode. But just the overall presentation, the look, the feel, the music, and everything that they're bringing together for this series, this is something I will watch on regular TV. Like, this is something that would, at the very least, would probably come on Sci-Fi Channel, and I would see myself enjoying just how it's so chilling and just has that darkness. And even we get a little bit of comedy every now and then too with the other people that's involved in the series. But the overall tone of it, the overall feel of it, again, if Geno Studios is going to be the successor of Manglo, they're already on a good start with this series, and I am ready for it. I absolutely enjoyed this episode for what it gave us, because we got a lot of information in this episode. We didn't necessarily move too far forward with progression as far as what's going on with the kidnapping and Juri's family, but we finally started to get some ideas and answers of what's going on with these specters and these things flying around. That makes things a little bit more clear than they were before. And as far as the cliffhanger goes, come on, we know nothing's going to happen to Juri. She's the main character, but it still leaves that little bit of worry and intrigue, because you're wondering if Gramps is gonna make the sacrifice to try to save her. I just see that happening one episode. Or when is Majima finally going to step in and assist, because she looks to be as big as part of this story as Juri is, and she may end up being an ally because she seems very intrigued with what's going on with Juri. She's very knowledgeable about what's going on with Juri, and it seems that they have some type of past. It looked like they may have brushed each other by fate long ago that we will no doubt get into later. And also, we still don't have an episode count for this series yet, but the manga is finished. It had 8 volumes and it finished around 2014. So the series was done manga wise long enough for us to actually get the full adaptation of this series, or maybe it isn't. So once we get that episode count, maybe people who have read the source material will be able to determine how well they're adapting this, or if we will get a good adaptation of this series, which I'm really looking forward to. I want to see how that turns out, because Inuyashiki was another series that was done, even though it was a little bit rushed. This is different than Inuyashiki because it had just ended a little bit prior to the anime being announced and made, versus Kokkoku was already done when the anime surfaced. So it might be a little bit different there. So I'm intrigued to see how that's going to turn out as well. And again, intriguing is the best word that I could put for this series, as it puts me in the mood that I want when I think of a supernatural series, when I think of a Satan series or psychological, just the wonder, the guess, the darkness, and the flow of it. Again, guys, I can't express enough that how much I absolutely love this, as it's probably my favorite of the winter season so far of all the things that we got, because you knew you were gonna like Nanatsu no Taizai, especially if you read the source material. But coming in with the new properties is some things that I'm really blown away by, some things I'm on the fence by. But as far as clear enjoyment, Kokkoku is winning that strides and strides ahead. Now, as far as the episode itself, in the midst of danger, Juri unlocks a power within when this guy tried to violate her and choke the life out of her. A very interesting ability that can change the entire course of the series, and of course make her the protagonist as she needs to be. And she has the ability to expel specters, as Majima starts to shed some light on what is going on with the stasis and why these guys can walk around but everybody else is so stuck, besides the magical spell that we see from the stones. You see, I always wondered what was the purpose of these specters and these little things floating around, and they're spirits that inhabits people's bodies, and when they bond with the human, they are able to flow freely within the stasis. This is why Juri and the thugs that these religious people have hired can walk around so freely, but the world is still frozen for everybody else. But at the same time, this also explains why the brother, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, why he is now in the stasis, as well as Makoto, the little nephew. He is now in the stasis as well, because one of these specters has inhabited their bodies, so they're able to walk around while all this is going on with people without the spell being put onto them. And when we saw that little girl get inhabited in the first episode as well, it just brought everything together as far as why. And we're going to get things in little nuggets of information like this, and I think this is going to be the flow of the series. But Juri's ability is the ability to expel or exorcise these specters out of people, and when you do that, you are stuck in a frozen state. You become what is called the stalled, as you are frozen in time inside of this. That is big, because this religious group are going around and they're just putting these specters into people, putting them into the stasis to do what they need to do, and I'll get to that in a second. But if she has the ability to just wipe those out and stop people from being in the stasis longer than they need to, or even to stop evading from them, mix that with the one day having the ability to learning the instant transmission that, or instant teleportation that her grandfather has, she has the ability to expel the specters, and she'll be able to teleport around. She could be pretty badass if she gets some training in, because we know Gramps can do it, but he doesn't have the ability to really control the teleportation yet. When he does it, he just falls around everywhere. So if she can learn how to master that, and she could take these guys out, imagine how badass that is going to be. And Majima also mentioned that she once had that power, but she doesn't anymore. So I'm really interested in seeing how that goes along. And the position of the specters, when their hosts are killed, and that's when the religious group comes in, they move on to another body. So I wonder who got killed for that little girl to actually get that one in her in episode 1, because I don't think we've seen her again. But that seems to be part of an experiment that this religious group are doing. It's like when, and it also has me a little bit confused, because they always say this man who I don't think we got his name yet, the leader of these guys, the guy that looks like the mob boss, he's saying that whenever he kills someone, or wherever someone tries to kill someone within the stasis, that's when the big herald appears. But these same people tried to kill Juri, and this monster, this herald, didn't show up, but it's always showing up when he's around. So I'm wondering if he has some type of connection to this thing, because he did say that when people stay around too long, these heralds are actually descendants or people who have a certain bloodline that stayed around too long. So it makes me wonder how much of a connection he has to this herald. But he's definitely doing an experiment, because he says that every time this thing shows up and the more energy it uses, the smaller it's beginning to get. So if this is stopping him from doing what he needs to do, I'm pretty sure he's just going to use these goons as an experiment to keep killing and killing and killing, or trying to kill, because they never get to do it without getting their head smashed, until this thing withers away and fades. Or maybe he's trying to get some type of power for himself. But either way, I don't think this is going to be the end of the fodder that he's hiring to get Juri or do whatever he needs to do in this series. Also, with Juri being able to retrieve the stone, and now her and Gramps are on the run from people trying to kill them, it's making me wonder if this guy needs both of the stones in order to stop that herald from following him around, or if that's how he could control it. It has to be some reason that it hasn't been explained yet, which would be the purpose of him gathering both stones, besides, you know, world domination. But, you know, also what I'm liking about Kokkoku is they sometimes go away from just this dark and dreary type of atmosphere. They give us a little bit of comedy, as well as when Makoto was running around in the stasis with everything frozen around. He was a kid just being a kid, jumping on things and messing around. It was really funny to see his uncle try to keep up with him, but at the same time try to say, look, hey, we need to figure out what's going on and calm down. However, the kid was a little bit more in tune and in state with life than his uncle, because he's a NEET who barely goes outside at all. So that was funny too. And overall, again, as a series, I really enjoy what this is bringing on a psychological aspect, and it's definitely what I look for when I try to watch a psychological series. Things that make you think and just gives you that little bit of a dark tone of what's going on, and a little bit more adult. So it's not always, you know, happy-go-lucky and gags and things. You just want it to get serious sometime. I know I do, and I like it dark. And I don't think this series is going to get super dark, but it's definitely enough to keep me intrigued. The key word for this series once again. So let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Let me know if you like this series, or you're going to drop it, or you're going to give it more episodes. And And I'll catch up with you guys later. So, as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me. I really appreciate that. So, thanks for stopping by. On that note, it's your boy Scott signing out. See you soon.
You